I would like to welcome Warwick Mayor Scott Avedisian, who I appreciate coming all the way in today before the snow. Come on over here and take a step up on the mark. Appreciate your coming in.
My pleasure.
Well, we had the opportunity to talk not too long ago. Reached out, we've been talking a lot about city politics, but being a Republican, do want to talk about national politics.
Sure.
And we did reach out to you, obviously, the Trump administration to date. The thing that we had spoken about was the immigration order that he had put forth. And one of the things I did want to ask you about as well that we had talked about in the news this week, this ability for Norwegian Airlines to come to the airport, but yet there are other domestic airlines that are trying to block it. What would a Norwegian Airlines coming to TF Green mean for the airport?
Well, I'm not allowed to disclose the locations that they would fly to yet, but what it will do is, one, it will give us international service on a regular year-round basis, which is big for us. And it also opens up for the traveling public the ability from here, once you're in Europe, you can go anywhere you want. And so for TF Green and for the city of Warwick, it's going to mean more hotel rooms, more overnight guests, more restaurants, trips. So for us, it would be a great boon to what we currently have going on at TF Green. Remember, we already have Condor Airlines doing seasonal service to Germany. We have TACV Airlines going direct into Cabo Verde, and we have Azor Airlines bringing people there. So this would be a great complement to that. So now we'd be all the way into the European footprint.
So again, we're waiting to see what the outcome under the Trump administration with that is.
I have to believe they're going to move quickly to approve that. It's big money, big jobs. It's going to change air service in the whole Northeast, and I have to believe they're going to look at that and say this is a really good thing, and more competition in airlines is good for everyone.
So I want to ask you, with President Trump in office, what have you liked out of his administration to date, and what have you not liked?
Well, I think what I like is the fact that they are focused on business issues and jumpstarting the economy. The back and forth constantly and saying, well, you're wrong, and our numbers are better, I think it kind of belittles everyone, and it would be much more presidential to make your case and then walk away.
Yeah, and we had the story on Go Local of there was the initial infrastructure project list that was floated around of which states might be seeing some infrastructure money. Rhode Island was not on that. Now, again, Governor Gina Raimondo opted not to have gone to the inauguration. Do you think that had a factor in what was at play, or do you think that list was already made months in advance?
I think the list already existed, and I don't think it had anything to do with who did or didn't go to the inauguration. But it sends a bad message, and so when you look at that list, you say, is this retribution for people not being there? I'm hopeful that soon we'll get some real direction from the White House as to what direction they're going to take relative to federal appointments from Rhode Island and relative to how they're going to interact with local government, but so far, nothing.
Haven't really gotten that. And we've gotten some indications from the Trump administration about how they want to handle sanctuary cities and funding. What do you have to say about his take on that and how it might impact Rhode Island?
Well, it would certainly impact Providence. It wouldn't impact us as we're not a sanctuary city. But part of the problem is when you start doing things like that, then there's another pool of money that is left that normally would have gone to Providence. We took advantage of some governors who didn't want to take our money when the bailout was happening and didn't want the mass transit money that went instead to TF Green State Airport and to the train station. And so we were able to repurpose a lot of what other people decided to do to help us. I'd be worried as to where that money would go, and it certainly wouldn't come to another area in Rhode Island. And when we lose that kind of funding, it hurts everybody.
And speaking, let's go focus kind of Rhode Island centric. The governor is due to put out her budget shortly. She just issued her state of the state. What would you say, what's the greatest need facing Warwick right now?
Obviously, it's the economy and jobs. We're bouncing back quicker than we thought we might, but a good boost in some high-level jobs and some good job retraining and training efforts. And I think her college proposal while we still need to see the details, there's a lot there that could be really positive for people. Being on the board for years at the foundation of the Community College of Rhode Island, we already do a lot of that. So I think it might give CCRI a pipeline to more students coming in, do their 2 years there that they pay for. It's a much reduced cost, and then you automatically matriculate to either URI or RIC. And that could be a big win for the city and for CCRI, depending on what the details look like.
Now, we're talking about the free college tuition initiative, talking about the repeal of the car tax. Talk to me a little bit about that and how, is that one of the biggest issues that you heard from constituents in Warwick that's facing families, and that's going to have a major impact in their lives?
They wouldn't come out and say it's the car tax. I think they just say taxes in general. So overall, any reduction of their tax burden, I think, is helpful. The Warwick is always an outlier, so we don't win or lose with either proposal, whether it be the value proposal to the Vehicle Value Commission or it be the full elimination. We pretty much are about the same in both. So I really have stayed out of that battle. I think I'd love to see a hybrid of the two, but I'm not sure that's going to happen.
And have you been hearing from folks? Obviously, there have been a number of issues with the current administration and the issue with UHIP. Obviously, there's a lot of folks in need. Have you heard from folks in Warwick that this is a major issue to get their services, to get food stamps? And what's your reaction to how the state has been handling the issue to date?
Well, I think you need more personnel to get it together to make sure that we move forward and that the project will be finished and be completed appropriately. But for our perspective, people who came to see us, we do emergency services all the time, and we have 13 social service agencies in the city of Warwick who all work well together. We have them all coordinated so that we all know what everyone is giving to in individual family. So anyone who didn't have food, we were able to provide that through one of our 13 agencies, but that doesn't resolve the problem. Hopefully, you'll see the manpower that they really need in order to get that back to where it should be. And I get the whole fact that it wasn't a contract that they gave, that they awarded. But you've got to deal with people who aren't getting the benefits that they need. And when you have a family and there's no food stamps coming in, and so that electronic benefit transfer card is not there, and so there's no food in the house, it falls to the local schools. Our policy is if we get you to school, we feed you. So we're not going to punish a child that shows up with no food. So it really did shift the burden to a lot of social service agencies and to our school department for a short period of time. But hopefully we're getting over that hump now.
And talk to me, as mayor of Warwick, we're in February 2017. What's on the to-do list this year? What are the goals that you are looking to achieve for the city this year? Economically, structurally. What are the big ticket items that you're looking at?
We have 4 big projects that we're going to do groundbreaking ceremonies for on Jefferson Boulevard in City Center Warwick over the next 2 months. So that's the number one priority, which is really good for our economic development. Appenag will be done in the spring, and that will finally give us an ability to change that old historic seaport. Obviously, Norwegian or any other airline coming to TF Green will change that. So the hotels that we're building, now we're going to be able to have the bodies to stay in them before they fly out. And between all of that, and then we have 3 other niche markets that we're working on that we'll have announcements on that will be moving into the city that we think will really give an economic development flair to this next year.
Well, I'd hope when you have some major announcements that you consider coming over here to tell folks what we can expect just down the road in Warwick. Right. And as you might have heard, as I was talking with some other folks when they came in here, there is a slight trivia component to the interview.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes, it is a surprise, and I think folks will know after we've already aired the first day that we have trivia cards from Road Trip. It was a board game that we stumbled upon. We actually got a used copy of it because it's not in production anymore.
Okay.
But we'd like to see it. We've gone through them. I didn't know a ton of trivia. Like to ask folks what they might. I'm not kidding when I say this is the very first question on the trivia. It says, this is a little dated now,
Okay.
mind you. It said the now Rhode Island Mall was once known as what mall?
Oh, well, that's the easy one for me, but that's the Midland Mall.
I picked this out from the middle.
In fact, I was just in the new Rhode Island Mall.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that.
Burlington was the first entity that moved into the renovated mall.
Mm.
They are dividing up the old inside of the mall into brand new space, and it looks great. So we hope to fill a lot of those as well, and that will be one of the announcements that we have.
And I couldn't believe it when I pulled the card out. There must be several hundred cards in here, and I get the Warwick-centric card
That's
to
good.
ask the longtime mayor of Warwick. And again, longtime mayor, do you see yourself staying in the city? Or do you see yourself branching out with politically?
You know, I have about probably 8 months to make that decision.
Okay.
So I'm keeping all my options open at this point. It's been, next week will be 17 years that I've been mayor. And it's been a great 17 years. And 9 years on the council before that. So it's been a really, really good experience. And I look at where we were and where we are, and wouldn't mind staying, but that doesn't rule out other opportunities as well.
So you are weighing some options.
Correct.
Okay, Mayor Avedisian, weighing some political options. Well, I appreciate your coming in today to talk with us.
Good to
And
see you.
again, major announcements. I will be reaching out to you.
I will
You'll
let you
come
know.
on in. We'll let folks know what's going on in Warwick. A lot happening in the city. So thank you for your
Okay,
time today.
thank you.
We'll talk. Okay, thanks. Careful in the snow tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You too.
Drive fast. Take chances. That was Warwick Mayor Scott Avedisian, who came in to talk with us as a Republican about a number of issues, including the Trump administration, its impact here on the state, and also local issues facing Warwick, and his view of some state fiscal issues as well. So they're all good sports. Talking with us about trivia cards. Had 3 politicians in a row. But now I'd like to welcome the head of United Way here of Rhode Island, Tony Maione, because there is a great event that is taking place tomorrow. Appreciate coming in, Tony.
Okay, yeah, glad to be here.
So I'm having you step over a little bit closer, because I know tomorrow is a big day for United Way, and I want you to tell folks why that's the case.
Well, we are celebrating the 10-year anniversary of 211.
Yes.
The events for tomorrow have unfortunately been pulled down.
Oh, they have.
because
Okay.
Our 211 operators are going to be busy taking
Yes.
phone calls, and we wouldn't want to put people on the road so they would get into trouble.
How many 211 operators are
There
there?
are 17.
Okay.
And so tomorrow shapes up like a snow day, and we have a relationship with Rhode Island Emergency Management. And Snow Day Nemo, we took 18